Hello, welcome to Hello Chaos, the weekly podcast that is unfiltered for founders we call kind of in the messy middle. No fairy tales, just the real grind, the grit, and chaos of building a business because it's a little crazy. Today, I'm so excited to have on our show. We welcome Kris Rice. She is the founder of ChillPod, calling out of Portland, Oregon. So, welcome, Kris. Welcome to the show.
Thanks
Welcome to
for
our
having
family.
me.
Start us out. What inspired you to start ChillPod?
Mhm.
When you get into the whole manufacturing mess, like what inspired this endeavor?
So I'll make it a short story. So, I was in events and marketing for a very long time, and I always knew that I wanted to do something for myself. I often say that it was just in my blood. My mom's whole side of the family were entrepreneurs, and I think I got that. And so I was always looking for what would that be. And I dabbled around in different coaching and mindfulness and all of these things that I was like, oh, I can do these as a side hustle and still work my job. Um, but it was very unrealistic because I was also trying to raise a family and my husband travels a lot. So it wasn't the best setup. And then, so I'm in the midst of trying to actually launch a mindfulness program to bring that for kids into schools. And so that was my idea I was working on. But I have two daughters, and the
What are
older of
the ages?
which
What are
I
the
have
ages?
13 and 10.
Ah,
Yeah.
I feel you. I have 4 kids, 14 to 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. The,
Yeah. I've got
we're,
the almost 14-year-old, so I feel you there.
uh, and it's a girl.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
It's
call it
something.
it's where I'm in the asshole stage of, I was like, I've had one. That's my 25-year-old. She's the oldest. And she went through kind of this, um,
This
this
assholery.
phase. Yeah. The assholery. And girls asshole are different than boy assholes. The teen boys, very different. But yes, they all
I can
go through
imagine I only have the
that.
girls. So.
Yeah. The boys are just more like, uh, they drink almost all the milk or juice, and there might be like a sip left, and they leave it in the refrigerator,
Yeah, yeah.
or don't put the milk back, and it just leaves it out on the counter,
Helpful.
those kind of things, or
Yeah.
or the ultra stinky, like, dude,
Yeah.
deodorant
Yeah.
works. let's
We were
let's
just
be
talking about
mindful
that.
of other people, please.
Totally. We were just talking about that yesterday where my 13-year-old was like, our teachers literally have to tell them that Axe body spray is not a replacement for deodorant
For,
or a shower.
or a
It's
shower.
not.
That's right. That's right. It is so that versus the girls are, get out of my, you're bothering me, get out of my stuff, or let me go, mom, let's go to Walgreens and load up on
But yeah,
juice
make a
that I've
haul.
seen, a haul. Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
And leaving those products all over the house. So yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that
Yep.
sounds
Yep.
right.
So
Or having
anyway,
too many products to put anywhere.
right. So anyway, yes, two
Yeah.
girls.
I feel it. So the older one, who is now the oldest teen, so when she was younger, she had a lot of mental health struggles. And so as I was trying to navigate that with her and really she was very young. So I really wanted to find her natural or alternative solutions so that she could feel better. And so as I did that for her, I really had no background in health, wellness, any of that. I had no toolbox at that point. And so I found these things for her. And then I started experimenting for myself. And I, of course, realized she was my mirror to be like, you are actually very anxious. You have all of these.
You exhibit all of these same
You
traits.
also are very similar. So as I learned those things beside her, it opened my eyes to what was out there, and that was great, and I found these practices, but the reality was by about 2 years ago, I realized I needed so many of these things to, feel good and function and do the things I wanted to do, and it was unrealistic. In addition to trying to do too many things from a work perspective and family, I also was trying to fit in an hour of meditation and moving my body every day and all of these things that it was just, set up for failure. So it was really from that space that a friend of mine was like, I think you should try cold plunging. It's really helped me. I think it'll help you. And I was just like, no. That sounds awful. I don't want to do.
Let me go sit in a tub of
Yeah.
pure ice. Hey, founders, if your brand's feeling a little, well, chaotic, you're not alone. That's exactly why Bright Marketing created the Bright Starter Sprint. It's a 90-day jumpstart for founders who need to launch, level up, or maybe just hit reset with clarity and confidence. You'll get our full brand therapy sprint, a complete brand dossier with your story, audience personas defined, positioning all nailed down, plus your go to market, a high level go to market blueprint, your pitch deck, anthem video, basic website, and a founder personal style guide that gives you clarity of how you need to approach your own content on social media. And you also get a 60-day content roadmap for your brand to put everything in motion. It's everything a founder needs to go from what do we do next to we're ready to roll in just 90 days flat. We can get it done. This Bright Starter Sprint built for founders who want to start smart, not just fast. So if you're interested, send an email to hello@gobrightnow.com. That is hello@gobrightnow.com.
I was
Yeah.
like, "That's a terrible idea. I don't wanna do that." So but it did stick with me, and I would still trying to do my day and be like, "Ugh, this is rotten. What am I gonna do?" And so she kept just, like, gently dropping it and being like, "Maybe." So one day I was just like, "I literally have nothing to lose. What will happen if I try it? Like, worst case, I hate it and I never do it again."
Right.
So I was just like, I just don't know that I want to be around other people and do that. So I bought a horse trough off of Ace Hardware and brought that home and I put it in my backyard and I filled it with hose water. And I was just like, I'm going to DIY this. I'm going to try it for myself and see if it, really matches up to what people say. And even though it wasn't that cold, I can still remember walking out of that water and being like, I've never felt like this. I've never felt
Wow.
this good. And so I would sit in that little trough and just imagine all the ways that I could make this better. How could I actually make it so people wouldn't say I hate cold water, but actually want to get in? How could it up level their space and make them feel good instead of being like, yes, I have to explain my horse trough every time someone comes
Right.
over.
Or I have a plastic inflatable tub.
Yeah,
So
same,
it's not
same.
it's even like at least you have a cool kind of, trough. Mine's a
Is it though?
mine's pretty ugly.
So was mine. It was a Rubbermaid. But
But
so I sat in that and I imagined what it would
uh,
be. And I had a hard time letting go of the kids' mindfulness because it was so near and dear to my heart. And I wanted that to succeed. And I was like, why can't I just do both? Can't I just do both and have a full-time job and figure this out? And I just got to a point where I was like, I can't. Like clearly this idea that wasn't even named ChillPod yet had like nudges that this was the place to go. And
right.
so I started following that, said goodbye to the other, which wasn't going anywhere anyways. And it's kind of just been off to the races since then.
Yeah. Well, you gotta, you have to pivot when
You
it,
do.
eh, but the fact that you attempted and tried
Mhm.
and dabbled, I, I never say there's no failures. It's just lessons learned,
For
and
sure.
um, and you got to try something before you know this isn't working, or
It's
I'm
so
spread too
true.
thin, or whatever.
Yep.
So, how did you? Because I told you I'm fascinated with like the 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 product side.
Mhm.
So how did you go into design? Did you hire somebody to go help me draft a design of what's in my head?
Mhm.
And did you like describe what you wanted and found like a manufacturer? Like how did that all work?
It's a great question. So it kind of had two phases of it. When I first was starting with my little baby horse trough, I was very much in like the small scale mindset of what this could be. So to me, it was like, okay, how do we make these so it wasn't like a huge investment for people, so it could be
Right.
really accessible and be able to get to a lot of people. So in that, I don't even know how I asked for this person, but my best friend had a contractor. They had just like some work done at their house. And she was like, floor guy Mike. Like, that's what he is in my phone. Like, to reach out to floor guy Mike and he can maybe do something. And so what he did was basically build a wood surround around a tub. So he didn't have to make the tub. And then we put a little chiller on the side so that it could, that was my thing, was I quickly learned it was a lot of work to keep water cold and clean.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take that work off of people. So we started with that, but floor guy Mike sadly knew floors better than he knew cold plunges. And the wood like started warping right away. And all of these things like started crumbling. He was not my
You're like, this is
person.
just a bad, above ground pool scenario
This
here.
is not good. You're like dripping water and it's continuing to expand. It was bad. But, I think a theme for me in the beginning was like, I always assumed that would be the end. I was like, oh gosh, like this didn't work out. How am I going to go from here?
Right.
And then it was another answer would kind of present itself. So the next step was, interestingly, we had a huge ice storm here and our master bathroom was taken down by it. And so we had these contractors there who were rebuilding our space. And one day I was just like, well, I have contractors here. I should just ask them. And so I talked to them about it. They liked the idea and they said, well, I've got this guy who makes really interesting products. Call him and just talk to him about it. Cause I wanted a female builder at the time. I was like, this would be really cool. It's unusual to have a female founder in the cold plunge space. It would be interesting to have a female builder. So I talked to that guy and he was like, you've got a cool idea, but you don't need a builder. You need a product designer.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what a product designer is.
Right.
Cool.
Like, how do I find one?
Exactly. How would one find a product designer? And so he was like, here's the thing. Like, I know the best one that I would recommend, and they happen to be in Portland. And I was like, okay, I'll just reach out to him. I'll ask the question. And they thought that they knew nothing about cold plunges, but they were excellent in design. And they came over to my house, saw my little first iteration,
Right.
and I literally mind dumped everything that was inside me. Like, here's all the things that I want it to do, and here's the ways that I want it to make you feel, and all of these things. And they took that and made it into 3 different designs for me to choose from. And I chose the one that I did, and it's been off to the races. Yeah.
Okay. And then you had to go find then a manufacturer and all of that. Are you keeping it all like in Oregon, or
good question.
How did you, tap into now the manufacturing industry and sector?
So we took a fair amount of time on the design side. So we really wanted to understand what is the landscape and what is out there and how can we make that different. And if you've seen ChillPod, I think you'd probably agree it doesn't look like most of them do. And so so from that, we spent a lot of time there. And then we had this design on paper, but that is very different than taking that to a manufacturer. And that was a huge learning for me, was just because it's beautiful and it hits a lot of the buttons that I wanted, that doesn't mean it's easy to make. So what I wanted was a company that was local. I wanted something out of Oregon. I got aligned with a couple of people who were in the manufacturing space here in the state and, tried to help do that. But the reality was, it was daunting to everyone. Everyone would look at it and it has a lot of curves. It really has no straight angles. And they were like, we don't know how to make this. I literally talked to a company that makes airplanes and they were like, no, this is way harder than that. So we ended up, try as we might to find somebody in North America. We just were running into too many roadblocks. And about a year ago, we started exploring doing it overseas. So we looked in China at a manufacturer that makes actually birthing tubs and then a lot of other medical equipment. And so they knew water.
They knew how to make
They knew water, and then they understood. They did understand the curves, though even still, like that, they were daunted by it. It took a long time between their R&D team and what our designers wanted to settle up on what we could make.
Did you stay with the same? Have you stayed with the same manufacturer? We've heard from a lot of founders in that the first run of manufacturer was they didn't know enough, or it just wasn't the quality they were looking for or whatever. And it's like we've heard from so many people that had said that was their biggest, they just didn't know what they didn't know. But almost everybody within the first year or two switched to a different manufacturer based on what that. So I'm just curious, like, are
Yeah.
you with the same?
Well, so we're not there yet. So we are in our first production run right now,
Very
and
good.
so
Okay.
it'll be really interesting to see because amidst all of this, not to make this political in any way, but everyone
Sure.
knows that there are tariff wars.
Yep.
So what
Absolutely.
we got into from an agreement and a plan initially has been really impacted by
Oh
what all has
man.
happened. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, these folks have been wonderful to work with. One thing that I didn't know is that in doing business in China, you always want to have a consultant over there. So
Yep.
if anyone else is thinking about that, I think that is a really interesting piece to know. And
Yeah.
I have interacted with a lot of people who might buy chillers from over there or have different elements of their product that they buy and they're not doing that and it is hard. So just something to like be aware of and the time difference is difficult and all of those things. So, I feel really good that I think as I've been told anyways, the manufacturer that we have is kind of like if they had a Forbes list, like they're the Forbes list. So,
Yeah.
we went
You
really
you
high.
you've chosen. You kind of did your homework and chose. But hopefully things will change. I mean, that's one thing that the US, we need to work on our infrastructure of manufacturing. We don't there's a lot of sectors we do not we just don't have
Yeah,
the
exactly.
ability to serve innovations. We've heard from a lot, like almost everybody has to go overseas.
For sure.
Even little simple. I don't know if you follow Emily Lay. She was the founder of Simplified,
Okay.
just planners. Like
Okay.
she makes
Mhm.
beautiful planners. They're available in like Target and some other, like boutique stores. But she ended up suing the
Mm.
administration for the tariffs being unconstitutional, which just got she won. It was her and like five other founders
Wow.
have come together and but it just was a decision this week.
Correct. I did
So
hear that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we
Yeah,
might
hopefully it
see
will.
a movement
I agree
and
because
change there.
at the end of the day, there can be a lot of like feelings one way or the other, whether you're wanting to keep manufacturing here or you want to keep it there. Like they've been wonderful to work with. And I think
Yeah.
also we have to recognize that in something like that, for me to take it and it's already an expensive product to make,
Right.
it would be 10x to make it
Right.
here. It would be something no one would ever buy, nor
Well,
would I make money.
right. Well, and I think your products are. I mean, I was just using like Emily, like the simplified plan.
Yeah,
It's a $30 planner. She tried to bring everything here
sure.
originally. But she was like, if I have to then move, she was like, one, there isn't anybody here. So it's
Exactly.
not even a choice. And that's paper. I mean, it's paper and cardboard and binding material.
Mhm.
But she was like, even if she created and invested and built the machinery herself, she would take a $30 planner to be a $200 planner. And she was like,
Yeah.
no one's going to purchase that.
No,
She
no.
was she was
That's
like,
the thing that
we're a
I
10-person operation. She was like,
yeah.
that's um she goes, we would never, she was like 10 people would lose their jobs
Mhm.
and and their family. So yeah.
Exactly, and we're just not set up for those things,
Mm-mm.
like in my product, and perhaps even same with hers too, it's like, if you wanted to do that here, unless you made your whole organization and set up all the manufacturing yourself, which would be millions and millions of dollars, it would, I would have to move the product to so many different places. Like
Yeah, yeah.
somebody could make the molds, but then somebody would have to paint
Right.
it. And then someone would have to do the finish work. And it would move so many times, you'd be risking all of it being
Well,
ruined
that's
by
what I
the
said. Like,
end.
I don't think people realize that when we talk about infrastructure of manufacturing, it's
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It's we can sometimes assemble, like, South Carolina, we build things here or assemble things. We
Yeah.
don't innovate and invent. We just we manufacture, but most of it is in assembly. Same with, Detroit, Michigan. everything's coming in, or the infrastructure for that. It's the supply chain of assembly, even for those parts are they're coming the raw materials are coming from somewhere else.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, it's like
Yeah,
we just don't have that infrastructure. But you know, so you're still in the midst of like first line of production. Um, and we saw on your website like you've I guess you've sold, or you said I've got to make 15. Like what's the did you have a minimum that you had
yeah.
to?
We
Okay.
have a minimum of 40, so
Wow.
which is great. I mean, I think they worked with us because they see the long-term potential of it, because those
Right.
40 are those are a labor of love for them and a trust factor of like, are we gonna be able to manufacture these the way that we think that we will? So they
Right.
worked with us on keeping that low, which was great because we didn't it wasn't, you know, I I've self-funded the whole thing. So for me to be able to be told, we need 1,000 of these, it
Right.
would be like, nope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were able to get the quantity lower. And that was something that I just wasn't like, I wasn't aware of the importance of that until I needed to be too.
Right.
There's so many things like that.
So 40. So I saw like, so those are all spoken for.
Yeah, we did good.
You did very good. Um, Fascinating. I just love that. So in this journey, what's the thing, um, what have you learned most about yourself going from, you know, just from the beginning of the journey, but especially this, like building a product, designing a product?
I think of two things when you say that. One, first and foremost, it's trusting my gut. So when I trust my gut and I listen, so I'm still a big meditator, and I know that for myself, like that clarity really comes through when I have that quiet space as opposed to trying to push ahead and do things.
Right.
So that's really a practice and like an investment in everything for me,
Right.
is creating that space. And when I trust my intuition, I know that I'm being led to the next step. Even if it's like walking away from something too, that I'm walking away from that knowing that there's something better, even if I can't see it yet.
Yeah. Because you
I
make room. You make room in your
exactly.
head, and you can.
Yep.
I've said this uh, on other podcasts of when you really. I think becoming a founder and running. I call it the messy middle of the business. You really learn about yourself,
You do.
and your body. Like I didn't listen to my body for a long time
Mhm.
until it kind of like somebody else kind of woke me up about it. It's like, you're right. Like you literally feel the energy,
Yes.
whether it's draining, whether it's tension, if you're
100%.
in, whether it's the wrong decision or you're down the wrong path or you're around the wrong people,
Yep.
you can
100%.
feel it.
And
Uh,
once you know that, because I'm the same way, I didn't feel it for a long, long time. And
right,
then once I did, I couldn't not feel that. So
right.
now that's like the barometer, right? Because so it is, even though it might feel like the harder choice, I'm like, no, in my gut, I know this.
Mm,
So we need to go that direction.
yeah. So what's been the biggest challenge that you've like your biggest oh shit moment?
It costs a lot of money to manufacture a product. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. I So I'm also pretty stubborn. So people will in kindness like offer you advice. And I still remember my uncle telling my husband, like, she's got a great idea, but you just need to know it's going to cost so much more than she ever thinks that it will. And I was like, forget it. I've got this. It's going to be fine. So
You can make it work.
we're going to make it work. And I have every time, but I will say, if some and I have heard that same message multiple times, like, I wish I could have let that sink in to be like, okay, sweetie, it's not going to cost that. Like, you
Right.
need to own and just plan for the fact that it's probably going to be 5 times what you ever think that it's going to be, especially if you're making a physical something.
Right.
Um, but I will also say that a physical something is maybe the coolest feeling in the whole world. When you
Yeah.
actually have this like tangible feeling of what you think it will be, and then you actually touch and feel it, and you see someone experience it, like There is nothing like that. It is very,
Mm.
very cool.
So is that like your biggest aha? Was like just
Probably.
the like the breath of like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
look what I did." It's like
I
birthing a
don't think
baby.
I didn't know that it could be that cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that it would, or it not even cool, like that gratifying to be like, wow, to see somebody look at something and have so much praise for it, or to, just the way that it's even created a conversation. All of those things, I didn't think about those. I think I thought about the end feeling for someone and how it could change their life. And then when you actually see somebody experience it, it really is like one of the most incredible pieces of the journey.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine, like, you get to it's because it's physical.
It is.
It's,
It
so
can arrive
tangible.
at your
Arrive at your
door. Somebody
door.
carries it.
Well, so you had mentioned, like, your uncle gave advice. Is there other pieces of advice that either you ignored and are glad that you ignored, or pieces of advice that you really took to heart and you it's part of your foundation, thinking?
I think that the whole time I have really tried my hardest to ground myself in the fact that my inexperience in all of this is actually my superpower. And there are definitely days where that does not land for me and it doesn't feel like that. But I think the more that I go, like if I look back on on these last 2 years of building this, that actually is like something remarkable. And it's
Mm,
something that I think is actually like a little bit of a magnetic pull to the people that I then connect with, because so many people have started and exited and done that multiple times. And it's like, it's just old hat. And for me, I look at it differently because it's my first time building a tangible product,
right.
and I just have a different outlook on it. And I think there's certainly space to look at that as a shortfall. And I think that maybe was how people saw it sometimes in the beginning. And then as we've gotten into it, it's like, no, like I know that I'm going to align with the right people. And when that will like blend out the experience that I might not have. And to have a fresh mindset on it is powerful.
Yeah. Did you tap into, I mean, I know, Oregon has a really, really cool innovation
Mhm.
ecosystem there. Did you tap into kind of that ecosystem, that community, and get any advice or anybody like investor? Or were you like, I'm keeping them at an arm's length?
It's a good question. A little bit of a mix. So I honestly, a friend of mine really encouraged me to step out and try and make a lot of connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I will say that was huge for me because I was able to get a lot of real time feedback, a lot of connections where I tend to be somebody who's like, oh, like, I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to put that on social.
Right.
Somehow LinkedIn felt different to me. And so I would say the most connections I made and fostered were really through that. I joined a couple other organizations because Portland specifically does have very much like an entrepreneurial spirit
Yes.
to it. Um, but what I learned was it takes a lot of time and energy. Having young kids and all of that, it was like, I have the desire to do that, and honestly, like, I just fall short on having the time to do it. So, I pick and choose my things, but I try and lean into some of those easier ways to accomplish a similar thing.
Right. Yeah. I've talked to founders. It's one of the um, I think lessons or advice I give to other, like, just be a part of the community. And like you said, like I do the same thing of if I can do virtual, if there's things that I can do via email, or let me figure out who's in the ecosystem, and I can do one-on-ones that are really on my time. Because I think there are some founders that get caught up, and I call it in the pitch, in the
Mhm.
networking, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden they're 30 hours a week, um, just in going to all these meetings because they've been told that's the way you're in the startup culture,
Mhm.
um, and then 3 years later they have to fold the business because they've spent 2,000 hours that year
Exactly.
doing that and not focusing on
Mhm.
their business.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so I try to encourage them, like, know it's there,
Mhm.
do it, you can control some of that.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
lot of it too, I would, for me, instead of like doing big networking events and things like that, where like sometimes I'm in the mood for that. And then sometimes at the end of the
Right.
day, I'm like, I just don't have that in me.
Right.
And so I
Because
don't want to
they're
show
like
up.
every day. Like here,
I
there's
know.
an event every day that I could go to.
Yeah.
And it's and that's one of the reasons I started the media company Orange Whip to
Hmm.
serve founders because there's too like it's too event driven in my opinion and not enough um learning on your own and
Yeah.
networking in your own controllable
Mhm.
manner. I don't know.
Well, and actually on that note, I was going to say one thing that I kind of pivoted to when I was like, oh, these events are fun, but like they're a little overwhelming. So it's like a lot of people that I don't know. Where do we start? All of that. And so I started, I called them my LinkedIn blind dates. So I would go and do, if I felt like it was going to be like something like an interesting person, they didn't
Right.
have to be somebody that was going to do anything for me or me for them. But if they felt interesting and we seemed to have good alignment, I was like, okay, do you want to go have coffee and take a stroll? Because I was like, if that would be that, I found that to be a very disarming way to meet people. You didn't have to like sit there and just talk to one another. You could
Right.
stroll and have a coffee and be back in 20 minutes. That for me was like a good way to learn how to talk about it,
Right.
to be able to connect with people who honestly, when you find the right people, they're very generous and they'll be like, hey, that is so interesting. Like, I would love to connect you to such and such without asking or anything. The right people will give generously. So, that was a way that I kind of like bridged that whole networking piece was just to break it down and make it a little smaller. And like you said, on my timetable where I was like,
Right.
okay, my kids are in school. I usually have from 9 to 10 that I could go do this. I'll slate in a couple this week.
Right.
So,
I love that. I love that concept of calling it LinkedIn blind dates, but also just coffee and stroll. Like I book so many coffee meetings, but you're right.
yes.
It's like I gotta make time for a walk, and
Yeah,
I know everybody else like so. Yeah, I might have to steal that one.
do it. I take a lot of meetings from my silly little headset here and I will just go walk and talk with people because I'm like, honestly, I feel like I am more engaged. I
Yeah,
get a little bit of
your
movement
brain's
in.
wiring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and there is actually science behind it that actually when you do walk, you have like better
that's
conversations.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um. So if you okay, if I could give you a magic wand and
mhm.
you could change two things about whether it's the business or the category you're in.
Mhm.
What two things would you change?
I would make manufacturing less expensive. That would be one.
That would be great.
That would be
Yes.
one. And, I don't know how to say this, like, kindly. When you sometimes have just, like, very entitled people that come into your life and you kind of have, like, the same situation unfolding, I would just, like that lesson to pass quicker. So, when you just, like, might be in a space where you keep kind of attracting that same
Energy.
situation over and over, you're just like, "Can we break up with that soon?"
Right.
I would
Yes.
I would love to wave a magic wand and make that go away.
Yeah, that was a lesson learned of that I've just come in the last couple of years of. I recognized that I was the common denominator, and I needed it's because I didn't create boundaries,
Ditto.
and so I learned. I had one of my business coach was like, she was like, "What's your biggest?" I'm like, I don't. For some reason, I feel. They're great network. They're relationships that I've had for a long time, but I feel like I am a doormat. Um, and and probably not, but more of in a business sense, I guess. And I was like, I don't because one, people don't. I'm a service minded. I'm a I that's my I guess my passion. It's hard for
Mhm,
me to say no.
mhm.
Or I think, well, if I support and give, of course it would be reciprocated. And that was a lesson learned for me. That is
Yeah,
not the case.
yeah,
That there are people out there that even though they on surface will say all the right things, they are takers. And so I had to develop some boundaries for myself.
yep.
And that
Me
was
too. I literally have
what
just really recognized that it was a lack of a boundary
right.
issue, even just this week, honestly. And because I think so many times, and this is almost like embarrassing to say, but like I had worked so hard to create boundaries that felt good in my personal life. It honestly didn't really cross my mind that that also was in a business
tr-
setting. I
right.
really didn't. And
It didn't translate for me either
no,
until I kept like until it started hurting the business. And
exactly.
then it was like, whoa. And I had to take a step back and it was, what is going on? And somebody just goes, well, it look at patterns. So I took a step back. I'm like, the pattern is me. Like
Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
all these people are very different situations, but I was the common denominator. And it was, well, you know what? I have set these things in personal or
Yep,
family, but I had
exactly.
not done the same thing in business. So it
Yep.
was, and I didn't have the tool. I wasn't equipped. Like I wasn't even equipped to be able to even create boundaries without damaging, burning bridges, all that. And that
Mm.
was one of the reasons I hired a business coach was to
Hmm.
help me formulate
Yeah.
what that looks like,
Yep.
which
And
was fantastic.
I think that's such a big, like, that's not a selfish investment. I've done that since the
No,
very beginning, and
it
for
is one of
me,
the best
it's
investments.
it's essential in
Yeah,
my book. Like, you just have to build that into what you need to operate your business
that's
because
right.
I could not do that without someone else to have by my side and help me see those things that are very hard to see in yourself.
Right.
Your partner's not gonna see them in you, all of that.
And they're not there to tell you what to do. They will sit there and just ask you really, really hard
Yep.
questions for you to go, oh God, no one's ever, and they just sit there and go, you need to go think about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or they've got the tools, a good business go, they've got the tools to go, let's work on these activities and it will create aha moments for you. Um,
Exactly.
so I'm a huge advocate for business coaches because you can't see stuff and you're alone.
Oh,
You're sitting at the
no.
top. You're at the alone. You just, it's hard to translate that to even, anybody around you.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. I
And the
totally
answers are
agree.
inside of you. You just
Yeah.
gotta,
You
uh,
just have to be able to see them for yourself,
right.
and so many times it takes another
Oh,
mirror or a person who can just
that's,
see it in a different way where they're like, "This is very obvious. You clearly don't have boundaries here."
that's right. Yes. Yes. Hard lessons, but that's okay. They're lessons.
There's still lessons. It's
They're
okay.
just
None of us
lessons.
died over them. Like, we're
No,
okay.
that's right. And then I found so many wins coming out
Mhm.
of it.
Mhm.
Um, that I did many celebrations for
Yeah.
myself to kind of go, good
Mhm.
job, you did it. Um, so if uh, so in your discovery, so what was like the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself?
I'm far more capable than I realized that I was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I I kind of knew it, but I think I very much questioned it. And the further I get into it, again, like not having led a team the way I'm leading this team or building like one step at a time and not trying to have like your end answer of what it's going
yeah.
to look like, all of those things, I'm way more capable than I realized. Like it really feels like I was made to do this.
Isn't that exciting?
It's kind of fun.
That's a reward, right? Um, there. I mean, in and itself. All right. So if a year from now, I come out to Portland, we have a cocktail or whatever, we take a cold plunge.
Yeah.
What are we celebrating? What's the win?
Ooh, we are definitely celebrating being $1 million business.
All
Like we're
right.
there for sure.
You know, I don't know if this is a fun stat that I love
Mm,
sharing with female founders that only 2% of female-owned business, woman-owned businesses reach over $1 million.
2%, did you say? Yeah,
Now
got in the bag.
we hold 47%, something like that, for in the 40%. I can't remember the latest of woman-owned businesses across the hundreds of thousands of businesses out there, but only 2%
That's
make it
wild.
across the 1 million benchmark. So that's a celebration you need. So when I have I coach different minority businesses and female founders. And so when they make it, or
Yeah.
if I come on, they're like, man, I'm struggling. I'm like, you're a $5 million business. Like, girl, celebrate. You are not, and you've been in business for 10 years.
Yeah.
Celebrate like
Yep.
that. Those are huge milestones to win. Yeah. All right.
100%.
Let's go. Let's
Let's do it.
go. 1 million, 1 year. We're going to do it. All right. So if you had to look back in your journey, what's the word that describes that journey?
I think it's trust. Like, again, whether that is trusting myself, trusting what's coming next, like, it's really that level of trusting that there's always something better out there and that you're always being led to that next step. And just because you can't see it, it does not mean that it's not there. And so, just really like feeling that trust in your body and knowing it's there is like, it really changed everything.
I love that word. I think that's one of the first times we've had that word
Really?
about that. Yeah. We've recorded about 200 episodes. We've aired 166, and rarely do we hear a repeat word, and I don't think we've heard that
Ooh,
word before.
love
So that's why I
it.
love asking it, cuz
Yeah.
everybody's journey is very different. We all hit the same kind of themes and
Mhm.
challenges and all that, but our words of where
Yeah.
we yeah, I just love that. Okay, so if you had to look at the next chapter, what word do you want to define that chapter?
Thought of one when you asked me this question initially, and now it's a different one. I feel like expansive is the word.
Oh,
Like,
that's a
just expansive in everything, whether that is the products that we're offering, the places that you're finding it, the abundance in my life and all different ways and fashions. Like, it just feels expansive.
mm. So the vision for the ChillPod is this isn't just the one product. Like you have a
No.
vision for other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. All right, we'll follow you on this journey. Who's your biggest cheerleader?
Mm, my mom.
Was she one
She
of the
is,
first people that you went to and were like, I got this idea?
did I? Probably. Probably, because I'm always like, "This is a safe space, like, I can say my wild ideas," and she's gonna be like, "Yeah," but she owned a business too, and so she also is not, like, an easy yes either, so I appreciate that it's not always like, "Whatever you do will be great." Like, she comes at it from a serious
Very
perspective.
pragmatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the best piece of advice she's given you?
I don't know if it's a piece of advice so much as I feel like when my confidence dips, she always is one that can be like, here's the ways we're going to move forward and this is not going to knock you down. We got this. And
Right.
so,
She got your
um,
back,
yeah,
lifting
she's
you
got
up.
my back and then she'll be the one. I was thinking about it the other night and I do like my wins of the day. Like
Right.
I journal them down
I
because I
do that.
feel like
Yeah.
otherwise I lose them. So one of my wins was that like she always asks me about like whatever thing is going on. She'll be like, "Hey, what's going on with that?" And so she lives nearby, so we see each other
Right.
often. And I just really appreciate that because I don't think everybody does that. Like sometimes they worry, like, do you not want to talk about that, or is that a pain? You don't want to have that conversation or whatever. And I feel very supported in that like check in process.
I love that. And I think
Hmm.
everybody needs that. I've got a group of other CEO and
Hmm.
female peers that, and then I also have other, I was like advisors,
Yeah.
mixed bag. But yeah, you need to have that community, whoever that is. I
Yep.
think it's, but you need somebody that's going to either, help you move along, but also like you have that trusted, either a mirror or
Hmm.
the one that's going to go, you know what, it's not that bad. That you can just have that safe space to kind of, yeah,
Exactly. That you can
um,
almost, like, share all of it,
the
and they can kinda
share,
bubble it up because they're, like, not in the weeds. They can
right,
see it differently than you inherently can.
right, or to
Yeah.
share kind of like I call it the assessment of I do a journal, and not I have other founders that write like books.
Mhm.
Journal. My journal is like I answer 3 questions at night before I go, and it's um, what was my biggest joy moment,
Mm.
um, or what brought me the most joy, and it could be business, could be whatever that is, just to recognize that. What was my biggest angst, like what's causing me angst,
Mm.
um, that that, that I'm carrying. And and then the third is, what am I most looking forward to tomorrow?
I love those.
So just answering that, I've done it now. Like, I think I'm on year 3
Huh?
of doing this, or yeah, 2 or 3. Chandler's like, I don't know. I'm like, but it's something that I learned from, another founder was like, write it. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't have time to write that stuff, but those 3 questions. But what I learned is, when I look back on it, the things that, one, the joy moments are because I remember struggling with, ugh, what? I don't even know what
Sure.
brought me joy. Now
Yeah.
it's like easy.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes I write multiple ones. And
Mhm.
then the things that used to bring me so much angst that I would carry would be, I call it like the ghosts.
Mm.
Oh, I didn't handle that meeting well, or I'm really like angry at because I didn't do something
Mhm.
that I should have done, whatever it is, that they're getting smaller and smaller,
Oh.
um, or they're just like, I'm not even recognizing things that they're not angsty things anymore. Like or they're getting bigger, like what, not bigger, not errors or anything, but like they are big lessons,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the little small like things that used to just, I couldn't sleep at night.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
worrying about stupid junk.
Mhm.
I look back and go, God, I was worried about that. Ugh. So that's like so those are the things I share
Yeah.
with my circle of people and then the what am I looking forward to, that, they're the bigger things. They're and they also bring me joy, and they bring energy. And
Mhm.
so I love doing the reflection of those over the I kind of reflect on them over a month or so. And
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm a bit, yeah, whatever it is, like, write down the wins, because that's the other thing. We don't celebrate even the smallest of milestones, and or we don't even recognize those things. So the fact that you're doing that, I think you will look back on that and go, this is incredible.
I hope so. I mean, I keep all my journals and stuff like that. Like, I've never actually had the time or desire, I guess, to go back to them, but I do think about it, and then I'm like, that's for another day. But I do think there's power in either speaking or writing, like the things that went well, because otherwise, like you said, we fall so short on actually celebrating what we do and how we've showed up that day, all of
Right.
those
Or
things.
the lessons that we're learning that,
Hmm.
you're gonna be reminded of it, because you're gonna hit the
Hmm.
same. It might not be in the same year. It could be 3 years. Like, how
Yeah.
did I handle that?
Yep.
Or, things that we hear from other people, and you're like, oh, they're celebrating that win. Man, I didn't think that was a win for me.
Right.
That
Right.
is a win.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I think it's so good to chart those
I do too.
moments.
And it, like,
Uh,
lets it out of your body too. Like, the
yeah.
things that you're holding
Like,
on to,
release
there
it.
is, like, something to just writing it down and getting it out.
That's right. That's why I was
Mhm.
like, I do it before I go to bed. Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
I call it, flushing it. And then usually if I'm also worked up, I call it brain dumping journal,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
more of like, just empty out my head, and then I
Mhm.
can organize it. If I'm feeling so like functional freeze
Yeah, yeah.
of that, like it's so overwhelming, I'll just sit on and just write everything that's in my head. And then I can go, okay, that's all like family stuff, my kids
Mhm.
stuff, things I gotta to do. Let's put that there. This is other things, and
Yep.
start organizing the day, the week, or whatever. But
Yep.
I've had to recognize that, oh, I've hit a wall. I'm at a
Mhm.
functional freeze because I'm so overwhelmed. That's a technique that I learned decades ago in the agency space.
Mhm.
When you go, how do you get through that? It's like, brain. I just
You
do
get it out.
a dump. Just get it out of the head, because that's
Mhm.
causing anxiety. It's causing tension and pressure. And then when you write it down, you're like, oh God, I can knock these things out. Let me just do the
Totally.
easy 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or, like, there's no way I can influence this. There's nothing I can do
Oh,
to
yeah,
change
yeah.
this, so that just
Let's
needs to
move that.
be
It's not in my control.
swiped off.
Right. It's not in my control.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think Those things are key.
Mhm.
Okay, so what piece of advice would you give another founder?
Follow the things that light you up. So if you have this idea that even seems like wild and crazy, but for some reason, like you can't let that idea go, it really is with you for a reason. Whether that is going to turn into a full business or just something that fulfills you, don't ignore those things. Those things are important. And when we start to pay attention to them, they are like signs in the right direction.
Right. They'll start feeding you
Hmm.
in
They
the
do.
right way. So what keeps you up at night?
So, I was gonna say so many things, but actually I am I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing. Um, I think sometimes just the funding of it. Like we are to a stage now where we're gonna start seeking investment, and I have this like gut feel that it's gonna fall into place easier than I realize, but I
Hmm.
stay awake and think about those
Yeah.
things of just like that feels like a really unknown circumstance to put myself
Right.
into and that type of thing.
The uncertainty of it.
The uncertainty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what would our listeners be surprised to learn about you? That's not on your resume. It's not on LinkedIn. What's just something fun or
I
interesting?
do
Yeah.
let people are usually surprised that I really do. I mean, I kind of allude to it a little bit, like, I definitely have a whole woo side of myself where, like, I will go do anything. I will go do any energy healer you wanna go to. I will go to try anything that within reason.
Yeah.
But that's also just people are always like, "You don't look like that, really?" And
Right.
I'm like, "Nope, nope, definitely, I will go do all the things." So, I kind of just own that quietly behind the scenes and, I'll lean into the meditation and things like that. But there's a lot more that are practices that I love and have really like helped me get to this place too.
See, it's part of your journey. It's part of your
Exactly.
story.
Hmm.
Well, I loved I loved having the conversation today. Thanks for hanging out with me. But before we go, where can people get a hold of you or connect with you, support you? Where do you want to direct them to?
So if you're curious about ChillPod, you can go to thechillpod.co, and it's the same on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well. So thechillpod.co, you can check it out there
And
on
it's
the
really
web.
cool. It
It is
is
really
really
cool.
cool.
And if you want to connect with me, I would love that too. So on Instagram, I'm at Kris Rice Wellness. And I'm, as I said, pretty active on LinkedIn too. And you can just look for Kris Rice there.
Yeah. Do a LinkedIn blind date.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, we could really start something
I
here.
know. The dating game, the LinkedIn dating game. Founders only. Excited.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I
Thank
loved hearing
you.
about your journey and your product and wish you all the best. And
Thank
we'll
you.
celebrate a year from now. We're
All
going to
right,
do
let's
it.
do it.
So that's a wrap on today's chaos, but the journey doesn't stop here. If you found yourself nodding along, laughing, or even saying, "Yes, Kris, yes, I agree," um, make sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. You can dig deeper into founder resources and tools or more episodes over at orangewhip.com. That's orange, WIP.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay scrappy, and remember, we are all a whip, a work in progress. See you again next week.